It's a new way of creating a city. It's a dynamic city. It's not a static city.
And floating urbanization is a very good way to have flexible and climate-robust urbanization in these vulnerable areas.
With almost half of the country below sea level, the Netherlands is especially vulnerable to climate change.
In het verleden.
There is a long history of flooding events here, going back as long as people can remember. In 1953, the Netherlands suffered its worst disaster in 300 years, when the dikes protecting the country were breached by a storm surge and exceptionally high spring tides. The flood came in the night without warning, killing more than 1,800 people. 200,000 square kilometers of land were swamped and nearly 50,000 cattle drowned. 40 years later, the authorities faced another near-flooding event.
In 1993,
in 1993, but even more in 1995, the water was so high that the authorities, the mayors and the governor decided to evacuate the whole area. In just our municipality alone, more than 18,000 people had to leave their homes, their animals and their belongings. They had to leave everything behind.
Hun dieren, hun goederen, alles hebben moeten achterlaten.
With the effects from climate change, the Netherlands are facing a new challenge. The current predictions are that the sea level around the Netherlands could rise from between 65 centimetres and 130 centimetres by the end of the century.
The main problems we have in the Netherlands with respect to climate change is, for one, flooding, and we are capable of coping with that problem. The water supply might become an issue, so fresh water supply, because we might have droughts in the summer period. And our most concern is about nature. Is nature able to, let's say, adapt to climate change? And our cities, are they really climate proof in terms also of flooding, heat stress, etc., energy use and so on? So these two, nature and the built environment, we do feel we have to invest in the years to come, substantially.
The municipality West-Maarsenwaal has become a testbed for new ideas to meet the challenges of sea level rise and flooding. In the village of Maasbommel, people are experimenting with different kinds of houses that will allow them to stay in their homes when water levels rise.
De gemeente West-Maarsenwaal.
West-Maarsenwaal is situated between two major rivers. That means that if the water rises and the dikes aren't high enough, then we need to evacuate. That is the reason why we built a number of houses in the village of Maasbommel. People then don't have to care about floods, because when the water rises, the houses will rise together with the water.
Ook mee met het stijgende water.
In Maasbommel you have two types. You have floating houses and amphibious houses. The type of house is the same, but the floating houses are always floating, and amphibious houses are only floating when water is coming up. The spaces you can build now in the Netherlands are with very weak and soft soils. So the comparison between building on water, very stable on water, of building in the polders of the Netherlands will be the same in future. And I think perhaps building on water will be more interesting than building on the land.
The biggest interest for floating urbanization is from the municipalities. You see that a lot of municipalities want to experiment with this new kind of urbanization, so that are our biggest clients right now. Rotterdam wants to experiment for maybe building in the city port, the old city port. The city of Amsterdam and the city of Almere wants to build in the big lake above them, the Markermeer. So yeah, municipalities are our biggest interest right now.
So one of the major opportunities that floating urbanization offers is that you can use the water as an energy source. Water is a very good solar collector, so you can use heat pumps to heat your buildings with heat from the water, but hardly any impact on these large water systems. At the same time, in summer, you can also use this water to cool houses. It's much more energy efficient, and you no longer need fossil fuels to heat and cool your houses. And we calculated that compared to conventional heating of buildings, it's a CO2 reduction of 60%.
that in the future we will live in a more sustainable world, and lots of parts of Holland will live on water. Our vision is not that the whole Netherlands will be a floating city, because that's not realistic, but I think parts of Holland will be very adapted to the surroundings, environment and the water, and it will be a more harmony than it is right now.
What you're seeing is that many of the largest cities in the world, really the huge metropolises, they are located in delta areas that are very vulnerable to flooding. At the same time, you also see that these mega cities, they are also facing scarcity of land. So I think for all of these mega cities in delta areas, floating urbanization is a very good solution.
We have to have more space for the water, but you have to have more space to live on as well, so why not combine it?